Hello everyone. Welcome back to another episode of our entitled parents. In today's episode, doctor shuts down EM during an emergency. Parents forbade me from getting a haircut my whole childhood. I got my hair cut as an adult and my mom judged me for it. I'm 17 and have been saving my checks until I turn 18. Will this cause any problems for me in the future? Before we get started, make sure to subscribe so you will never miss a video. So let's get started. Doctor shuts down EM during an emergency. I'm posting this for a friend of mine. My buddy is a very good surgeon and has dedicated his life to medicine. He frequently goes to hotspots around the world to offer his services. He spent time in Syria, in Iraq during the war, in Africa, after September 11th, in the Boston bombing. He got in his car and offered his help at hospitals there. He is unmarried, and the only thing he does for himself is he takes 3 or 4 weeks off twice a year, once in July and once in December. He told me he does this so he doesn't lose his mind. On those times he really lets loose. He'll go on vacation somewhere, maybe take up a hobby, go skydiving, scuba diving, meet women, eat wild food, and at Christmas he spends time with his brother's family and apparently gives some pretty nice gifts. He's as good of a person as you could ever hope to meet and an excellent surgeon. Without giving too much away, before COVID at his hospital they had a pretty busy day, which at a hospital is never a good thing. He was doing one emergency surgery after another. Everyone was slammed and more people were waiting for emergency care. One person had already died because of the backlog and a few more on the operating table. No matter how good the surgeon is, sometimes you simply can't save people. In the midst of all this chaos, Entitled's mother walks into the ER and begins demanding that someone see her brat kid who had a bruise on his face because another kid punched him at school, probably for being a brat. The secretary managed to get her to wait in the waiting room, with all the people waiting to see if their loved ones were okay. Her kid went and apparently decided that he was the only one allowed to play with the hospital waiting room toys and would scream at any other kids who tried to approach. Our hero doctor, meanwhile, is fighting for the life of a 16-year-old who was in a car accident. No idea if it was his fault or not, it didn't matter, and sadly the kid didn't make it. I always feel this is the worst thing for a surgeon. They try their best, but sometimes it's not good enough. He has to get his own emotions in check before going to face the parents. They have a special room for this in the hospital. It has comfortable furniture and a table that is nailed down. He is in the middle of breaking this awful news to parents who are feeling a pain that words are too cheap to describe, when in bursts Karen. Apparently, she followed the parents as they were escorted to the room. She took a look around and said, "When you are done taking a break, my son needs..." Doctor shoves her out and calls security. He finishes talking to the parents that goes to the waiting room. Secretary filled him in. He asks the mother who had been berating the secretary ever since being so rudely treated by the doctor which child was hers. He went over to the kid and in the waiting room gives the kid a quick look over, declares he doesn't have a concussion and tells the EM to get out of my hospital before I call the police. EM, I demand you. Hero doctor, no. I have patients that need me much more than you. Your kid is fine. You just need to raise him better. Get out. He had security escort her and her kid all the way to her car to ensure that she left. This is a guy who I have never seen get angry. He got robbed in Ibiza, losing his wallet, all his credit cards, IDs, and his passport, and shrugged it off saying he already canceled the card, but an alert out for the IDs, and the most the robber got was about 50 euros and a nice wallet. But when he told me this story, he was shaking with rage. Disclaimer: I was not present when any of this took place. I retold the story as he told it to me with his permission and at his request have been intentionally vague about certain details like his name, where he works, etc. Your friend sounds like a badass, and good on him for kicking that lady out. That's too bad he couldn't save the kid and that he got robbed. That's just the way surgeons are. My dad was an orthopod, and he didn't take any bullshit from anybody. It comes from the fact that their job is cutting people up, digging around in their guts, and sewing them back together. On the flip side, They're not exactly renowned for their patience or bedside manner. I can feel the reverence you have for your friend, and it's heartwarming. It's so good to see the people taking care of us getting the support they deserve. You're a good friend, and your friend is frigging awesome. A beautiful soul. I really believe he is what we should aspire to be. Selfless, honorable, intelligent, honest, kind, brave. He has his faults. He can be a bit arrogant at times, or boastful. He is one of the best at what he does, and he knows it. But he usually checks himself and tries to be humble. It's human nature to have pride, but it takes strength of character to not let it consume you. When we met, he was 15 years older than me, and though we are friends, I sometimes see him as a mentor. As a nurse, you don't understand how important it is for doctors to stand up to this type of behavior. I work in dialysis, and it's sad that all of our nephros allow this type of behavior from some of our patients, and it's exhausting. That's awful. I have family that are nurses, and I've heard stories of the kind of abuse they put up with. People should have more respect for them. Parents forbade me from getting a haircut my whole childhood. I got my hair cut as an adult, and my mom judged me for it. I was forced to have very long hair. I was told it was because my mother said her mother forced her to keep her hair short, and she said it traumatized her. I honestly felt like Rapunzel with my long blonde hair and not being allowed to change it. I told my mom when I was a teenager that I was sick of my long hair and I wanted to change. She said absolutely not. I decided to get my hair cut and donate the hair to charity. My mom crapped all over the idea, saying I was going to regret it and have a mental breakdown over the change. I was an adult, but I didn't have enough money for a car, so I needed a ride. I asked my mom for a ride and my mom refused, so I got my dad to drive me. She acted like I was going to get an abortion. She was so unhappy. When I got home with my new hair, she never once gave me a compliment. She barely looked at me. I loved my new hair too much to care what she thought, but it was shocking for a woman in her 60s to get petty because I chose to do something for myself. She thinks she owns my hair. I wonder if she never said anything about my hair because she was mad she was wrong and that I had no regrets. Everyone else liked my hair. My dad wasn't happy with the idea but grew to accept it. Your mom was so traumatized by the denial of her bodily autonomy as a child, she decided to deny you bodily autonomy? Sound logic. My mom cut my hair all off to a boy's length along with my little sister's when I got my first period. She was trying to keep us from getting molested, I guess? I hated it. She told me that she was trying to keep us out of trouble. She also said she was worried my sister and I would get punished by dad if we got molested by anyone. Insanity. I have 2 sons now and only cut their hair when they ask me to. Does she not see the hypocrisy with what she did? I forgot to mention she is a baby boomer. I'm 17 and have been saving my checks until I turn 18. Will this cause any problems for me in the future? When I was 15, I got a bank account opened in my name under my mom's account and have been working since then. When I got hired, I opted for checks instead of direct deposit and would deposit them each time into my bank account under a custodial account because in the US you legally cannot open your own bank account as a minor. Perfectly fine. The problem is my mom has always been very controlling, and when I was 16 I bought myself a binder and my mom ended up finding it while snooping through my room, of course, and grew extra strict since then. She has refused to buy me anything, including daily necessities such as shampoo, pads, skincare, food that only I like. I still get to eat food/use items bought for the whole family, so it does not really count as neglect. It's just normal personal items that all teens need, because I am acting like a disgusting adult who can buy whatever she wants. I was obviously upset by her decision and the constant shaming, but grew used to it and started buying everything I needed myself. The next problem came when she would take money out of my bank account anytime I did anything remotely bad. I admit I deserved a punishment at some times, but most of it would be for very minor things that taking my hard-earned money was way too extreme in my opinion. Example, I made whoever in my family was picking me up from school/work wait for a few minutes, so she would take what she considered the amount of gas plus time out of my account. I 5 minutes equals $25. Or I would take way too long in the shower doing God knows what. I do take long showers, but never more than 40 minutes, and on average take about 25 minutes, and have to pay the water bill for the entire household, a month of 5 plus ppl. Another completely BS reason to me is if I did not respond to her texts right away or update her where I was at when I was out of the house, she would take $1 for every minute I was out of contact. For context, I often work doubles or go to school then work and ride the bus to V from work and school nearly all the time. While it would annoy me to reply to her spam texts after she confiscated all my devices, for the same reason she won't buy me anything, I would do so, but the issue is that my dad stopped paying for my phone plan over half a year ago, and so I have no service and am constantly having to connect to any public Wi-Fi in order to send iCloud messages, /FaceTime calls, and update my location on Life 360. TLDR. Strict mom, taking money, in my opinion, unfairly out of my bank account. In the summer of 2023, I stopped depositing my checks into my checking account so that I could continue to save the rest of the money I get from working to move out. Fortunately, I work in a chain restaurant, and there is an online website where I can see every one of the payslips from the time I was hired. This way I have been keeping track of my undeposited money and know that I won't forget any paychecks when I am ready to deposit. My question is, will not depositing all my checks cause me any issues once I turn 18? I know that all the money is still legally in my name, / towards the checking account, but the checks themselves expire after 160 days. When I somehow ask for them to get reissued, will there be any penalties I have to pay for the various amounts of checks I will need again? Also, if it is okay for me to continue to save them until I turn 18, how would I even go about asking for new checks when the time comes? I guess I would have to speak to my manager about it, but I don't know how to bring it up without mentioning my family issues. Another question is, once I open a new bank account solely under my name, is there any way I could get the checks that are directed towards my custodial account under my mom's into my new bank account? Would I just have to deposit them into my custodial account and then wire the money into my new account the same day? I turn 18 at the end of this year and will have about 38 undeposited checks by the time I am able to open my own bank account. I've already considered going straight to the bank to get my checks cashed out, but that leaves an activity on the bank statements, and I know my mom is constantly monitoring my account as she questions whenever I buy something. A charge of $28 from Amazon. What did you get from Amazon? Let me see the order. Getting a bank account under my dad's name is out of the question. He's an absent father who has not paid child support for the past 8 years and complains when he has to buy me food when I see him once a month. He would see my account balance and say I could get it myself if I asked him for anything necessary in the future, like help towards school payments. Also, in case any of you might think this is just because we are short on money / I should help my mom out with bills. We are a low-income family, but my mom has saved up money for years and is definitely not short on it. I know she has a CD account with $60K plus in it, and she has a boyfriend who pays for luxurious gifts and trips for her. Some checks expire. Wells Fargo will let you open a checking account at 17. I wouldn't trust the pigs at Wells Fargo after what they did with sales goals. They are the last bank I'd ever do business with. If your employer's bank is local, you can cash the checks there and save the cash instead of the checks. Also, there are other places you can cash checks without accounts. I think Walmart does this. Yes, Walmart does cash checks. I saw that on the services list the last time I got a money order for part of my credit card statement. Some grocery stores cash checks too. Business checks expire within a year. The time limit is printed on the check, and then you'd have to get the business to reissue a new check. Find another way to hide your pay from her. Be careful with cashing your checks and keeping it at home. The next time your abusive mother ransacks your home, she might find your cash stash. Try and open an account at a different institution now you're 17. It really is insane that America doesn't let kids have possessions independently of their parents. If you made it to the end of the video, thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share, and we will see you in the next video.